To one and all of you, welcome on behalf of Newton Mearns and the wider Baha'i community to our contribution to the Interfaith Week in Scotland here, 2024. Thank you all for your presence from, oh gosh, all over the place, down London Way, up to Orkney, Dumfries, West Kilbride, and Lanarkshire. Great to see you all. And Aberdeen, that's right. So the topic for this evening is being compassionate towards others. That's the theme. And we've had our song, and we're going to have I'll give a short introduction to the Baha'i faith this evening. And then this will be followed by Dr. Maureen Sire, Director of Interfaith Scotland. And after Maureen's session, we'll have another song. And then we'll hear from Hushman Badi, Dr. Hushman Badi. And there'll be another song to conclude that part. And then we're going to have just an open discussion for whatever you are inspired to share with the rest of the group on the screen. Okay, so as far as briefly for the Baha'i faith, most of us here are Baha'is and know about the faith anyway. But anyway, the Baha'i faith was established in 1844 in Iran. And its herald is known as the Bab, whose name means the gate. And the founder of the Baha'i faith is Baha'u'llah. And that's an Arabic title meaning the glory of God. So the essential teachings of the faith are what we call three onenesses. And the first oneness is a oneness of God, that divine being, that essence that unites us all. The same God that all the followers of the world religions believe in. The next is the oneness of religion, that essentially the religions from God are inspired and revealed by that source and are all connected in that way. And then also the oneness of humankind, that we're a very rare and unique species on the planet. And we have a lot of potential, and we're hoping to develop that as time goes by, and have been so. Anyway, all of us on this earth, the outlook is that we have a capacity to know and worship God. Some of us choose to do that, others choose not to. But there's no clergy in the Baha'i faith, and so each person comes to an understanding of the Baha'i faith and Baha'u'llah through an independent investigation of truth. And that's a very important principle enshrined in the faith. So as individuals, we open our hearts and we're moved and we're inspired by the word of God and the study of the teachings and the counsels contained in the sacred verses. We're also deeply and profoundly connected to the followers of the world's religions. And these religions were revealed in different places across the planet at different times. And each of them embrace the spiritual truths of the previous revelation or message. And they bring social teachings that are applicable to the needs of the particular time that humanity is going through. So as humanity develops and matures, these social teachings renew that faith in God and guide us in our individual, family, community, national, and international aspirations. Some of the principles in the Baha'i faith, as there are many of them, but one is universal education, that every human being on the planet should have a proper education. The equality of men and women is another important principle. The abolition of prejudice in all of its forms, and the harmony of science and religion. So the Baha'i faith is worldwide now, in spite of severe and ongoing persecution in the land of its birth since 1844. It still suffers from grievous persecution there. But across the world now, we have community building programs and activities that everybody is invited to participate in. And so this is enjoyed all around the world in helping to strengthen the bonds of love and fellowship that are such an important and vital part of our lives here on the planet. So whatever the Baha'is are doing, it's with this wish to include everybody, to go on this journey, if you like, of development and progress together, and at that deeper level of understanding and bonding with people of faith, people of no faith across the planet. So from Timbuktu, quite literally, to Glasgow, to Canada, wherever, you'll always find Baha'is at the heart of that kind of activity on the planet. Okay, well, that sums up that wee bit about the faith. Obviously, we've got quite a lot to get through. So I think now we're introducing Maureen. Yes, we're not having another song yet. That's right, introducing Maureen. So I have known Maureen for many, many years. And it's always been a joy and a delight to share any kind of platform with Maureen. She has served for many years as director of Interfaith Scotland, and I've always known her as someone who helps to inspire and develop a number of activities that bring the members of faith communities and those of no faith together. So a big part of it all in doing that is being compassionate towards others, and I can't think of a better person to discuss compassion than Maureen Sire. So over to you, Maureen. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that lovely introduction, Janet. And I'm sorry I couldn't hear the song, but the images were really nice. Lots of lovely people looking happy together. That's always a good thing. Yeah, it's a real joy to be here with the Baha'i community tonight. I've just come from another meeting where I was with Muslims and actually members of the Universal Peace Federation, and they were looking at peace as they're, discovering peace together. So this week, many of you will know that it's Scottish Interfaith Week. And in 2004, Interfaith Scotland had been operating for around 5 years. When the then chair of the board and director, the chair of the board was a Sikh and the director was a Catholic, they felt that it would be really a good idea to have a week, as well as all the other activities that we were doing, was to have a week that would focus on bringing the diverse faith and belief communities together over the course of a week to really engage on a deeper level with each other, and also to encourage other organizations, local interfaith groups, diverse faith communities, libraries, schools, local authorities, and others to celebrate Scottish Interfaith Week. Now, I was development officer at the time that Scottish Interfaith Week started. And I can tell you that first year there were 6 events. There were 6 events across the whole of Scotland. And they were great events, but there were 6 of them. And then gradually the following year, there were 12, then, maybe 30. Now we're up to around 100 events can be held across Scotland in this week. We decided from the very beginning that every Scottish Interfaith Week would have a particular theme. And we felt this would allow Interfaith Scotland as an organisation to really engage with other organisations around a particular theme. So we've had so many themes. I'm going to mention, for example, we had Together for the Planet during COP26, which was held in Glasgow, and that was the theme for COP. And it's wonderful to sit here today and remember that week, for example, where we engaged thousands of climate activists in interfaith activity over the course of that week. During the COVID pandemic, the theme was connection. And that felt so important because people at that time were really crying out for connection because we were having to live in such isolation. So we explored mostly online because of the COVID pandemic, what it means to be connected to other human beings. And actually, particularly during that period of COVID, we did discover such a lot of compassion for each other, compassion for people who were suffering with COVID, who maybe had people in old people's homes or in hospital or just ill. So that felt like a very real subject, actually, if you like, this idea of connection. We've had storytelling as a theme, and that was a great theme as well, because at the heart of all faith communities, there's this desire to tell stories about the founders, to tell stories that edify in some way, if you think of the Gospels, to tell stories about early believers or pioneers. I think, Jackie, am I right in thinking you might be from the Church of Jesus Christ? Is that yeah? And I know that there's lots of stories of the early pioneers of the Latter-day Saints in America and all the things that they did to establish themselves there. And so storytelling was an incredibly powerful tool for as a theme of Scottish Interfaith Week. Now this year we have the theme of discovery, and it sounds like it was a theme that developed for a very practical reason. We had decided that we wanted to do a national conference to celebrate Scottish Interfaith Week and to celebrate the fact that it's the 20th anniversary of Scottish Interfaith Week. And we wanted to have this national conference in Dundee. Well, Dundee, if any of you know Dundee, I don't know if any of you know Dundee well, but it is the city of discovery. And so we thought this would really warm the Lord Provost to the idea of giving us the city chambers free for our big national conference. And it did indeed do that. So our theme this year was discovery. But what we found is that people have really warmed to that theme. And we're finding on our Scottish Interfaith Week website the different events that are being uploaded, have the theme discover so many different things, and I think there's something about interfaith engagement that allows us to open ourselves up to discovering the beauty in others, to discover the beauty in the other faith traditions, to discover what it means to have a faith, to discover what it means to be of service to our communities and to our country, etc. So people have explored that theme of discovery in so many creative ways. One of the things at the conference on Tuesday was the launching of an embroidery, and this embroidery was the giant ship Discovery. The Discovery is a ship that was it Scott of the Arctic or Antarctic? Can't remember which one. Sorry, but this ship is based there in Dundee. So this ship was on this beautiful embroidery, but in every single square, and there were 90 squares, a different woman of faith had taken that square and embroidered something meaningful to them, something they had discovered from the richness of their faith. And that beautiful tapestry was unveiled. So there you can see how people have taken the theme of discovery and done so many exciting and wonderful things with it. So it's lovely that this 20th anniversary year of Scottish Interfaith Week, we're opening ourselves up to discovering others and to discovering in a genuine way what is it that makes people from other faith traditions tick, and what is it that makes people who have no religion at all tick. What is it that really makes us a common humanity? What are the things that we're looking at? And so I'm delighted that the Baha'i community has put discovering compassion as something that they really want to explore in tonight's engagement. It's such an important virtue. It seems to be at the heart of all religious traditions. And I'm hoping that we all get an opportunity to really explore how it feels when someone is compassionate towards us, and also how do we demonstrate our compassion towards others. It seems to me that we're at a time of great suffering in the world at the moment, And it's very easy to become polarized and for people to take sides at one end of the struggle to another end of a struggle, and to lose sight of compassion for all the people that are suffering in so many diverse ways across the planet. So it's a great theme. Thank you for thinking of it. Now, in the spirit of interfaith, I wanted to read something from the Dalai Lama, because all of you will know that in Buddhism, compassion is really and truly at the heart of what the Buddhists teach. It's compassion for yourself, compassion for others, compassion for the world. And so I found a lovely, some thoughts from the Dalai Lama on compassion. And as I don't think there are any Buddhists with us tonight, I thought on their behalf, I would share some Buddhist thoughts. So this is from the Dalai Lama. And in his very humble way, he said, "From my own limited experience, I have found that the greatest degree of inner tranquility comes from the development of love and compassion. The more we care for the happiness of others, the greater our own sense of well-being becomes. Cultivating a close, warm-hearted feeling for others automatically puts the mind at ease. This helps remove whatever fears or insecurities we may have and gives us the strength to cope with any obstacles we encounter. Compassion is the ultimate source of success in life. As long as we live in this world, we are bound to encounter problems. If at such times we lose hope and become discouraged, we diminish our ability to face difficulties. If, on the other hand, we remember that it is not just ourselves, but everyone who has to undergo suffering, this more realistic perspective will increase our determination and capacity to overcome troubles. Indeed, with this attitude, each new obstacle can be seen as yet another valuable opportunity to improve our mind. Thus, we can strive gradually to become more compassionate. That is, we can develop both genuine sympathy for others' suffering and the will to help remove their pain. And as a result, our own serenity and inner strength will increase. Ultimately, the reason why love and compassion bring the greatest happiness is simply that our nature cherishes them above all else. The need for love lies at the very foundation of human existence. It results from the profound interdependence we all share with one another. Therefore, develop compassion."
Okay. Right. Well, thanks for that again, Beth. That was a lovely one. And I love to see all the different countries listed or all the participants. You get that really world community feeling there. Right now, on to our next speaker for this evening. And it's Dr. Hushman Badi, who most of you will know was a great stalwart through the pandemic times and various talks and presentations there. And Hushman's lived in many countries, Iran, Bangladesh, Canada, St. Vincent, and now here, the United Kingdom. And his background is in economics, and he's taught on many programs in that connection. And currently, he's a tutor for economics with the Baha'i Institute of Higher Education. And that's what gives students, Baha'i students in Iran, an opportunity that they're otherwise denied by the current regime. So over to Hushman next. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Janet. Thank you for the introduction. And I also thank Maureen for the inspiring words she started, and especially the words of Dalai Lama. about compassion and love, which is a good start for this topic I am going to elaborate. Betochan, can you see that?
Yes, it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay, Hushman. Yes.
It's okay. Yes. In one of the writings, Abdul Baha says that women have astonishing capacity and capability. And we can see here. Well, friends, as you see, I have chosen the violet flower for the slides of this presentation. And the reason is that this beautiful flower has different meanings in different cultures about the concept of compassion and empathy and kindness and caring and this sort of human behavior. So it is a symbol of deep feelings of caring and respect and love for others. So I have several of these flowers for a few slides that I am having. Now, if we raise the topic as a question and ask why should we care about the comfort and well-being of others, the answer is relatively straightforward because things like poverty, like hunger, like displacement are not a normal way of life. None of us expect to have a miserable life, and no fair-minded person is willing to be neutral to these conditions. So the belief that all human beings are members of a larger family, that is the human family, nurtures the understanding that it is not morally, economically, and socially right for some people to have a painful life every day. Therefore, values such as caring, such as kindness and compassion plays an important role in being concerned about the suffering of others. And that should include actually all creatures and not only human beings, such as the kindness to animals and the ecosystem. Now, let us now elaborate on this subject further. Today, the interdependence of nations is a reality, and no one can deny it. The analogy of the human body can be used to express the interconnection of the nations and peoples of the world in every aspect, that is socially, politically, economically, environmentally, and morally. For example, in the human body as a single system, if pain occurs in one part of it, the rest of the body is affected as well. Similarly, in human society, issues such as war, such as poverty, and human displacement in one part of the world cause pain and suffering in other parts of the world. The current wars, for example, in several parts of the world have caused the entire world to worry. These heartbreaking events remind us to consider the whole world as one unit and one body. To be worried and being concerned about the well-being of others shows that human beings have reached a higher level of maturity. Maturity in a sense that we cannot be indifferent and neutral to the pain and suffering of others. Now, friends, I'd like to discuss this concept of being compassionate to others with three principles of unity, removing prejudices, and also it affects eliminating poverty. There is a direct relationship between unity and being compassionate to others. It means the more we think about others and show kindness and empathy and solidarity, regardless of racial, religious, cultural, and national differences, the closer we get to unity. When we strongly believe in the principle of unity, we actively work to make it possible. The feelings of compassion for others strengthen and become natural to us, and the suffering and happiness of others affect our own suffering and happiness. This makes people not only be concerned about the personal or group interest, but also taking action to improve the condition of others. When we strongly believe in unity, we naturally want to help reduce the pain of and suffering of others. One is rooted in the other. This shows the interconnection of the principle of unity and compassion, both working to promote solidarity, justice, and love for human society. The question is, does the unity of humankind cause us to be compassionate, or does being compassionate to others bring us closer to unity? It seems that both views can be correct and complement each other. The belief that we are all part of the same family naturally strengthens the sense of compassion to others, and that we cannot be neutral to their suffering. This, however, needs to be practiced and acted upon until it becomes natural to us and become a reality. On the other hand, being compassionate to others helps us gain a more profound and inner understanding of the unity of humankind. When we treat others with kindness, the experience gradually helps the realization that all human beings are interconnected and their sufferings and joy affect all. And in this way, the principle of unity becomes stronger and stronger every day. Therefore, unity and compassion are not only not separate from each other, but are complementary and strengthen each other. Belief in unity reinforces being compassionate to others, and being compassionate leads to a deeper understanding of the principle of unity. Today, the effects of the gradual application of the spirit of unity, such as the rejection of racial discrimination, greater awareness, acceptance of gender equality, and greater awareness of human rights, are more evident and recognized by many people and many societies. Today, the goal of unity is possible because we have access to the necessary means to achieve it, especially the willingness of people, particularly the younger generation. For example, leaders who support human rights and work for the well-being of all nations are becoming more and more popular. And others who are less concerned about human rights and the well-being of others live more in isolation. Now, friends, let's say a few words about being compassionate and how it removes prejudices. Prejudice is the harmful and unfair judgment of others based on their differences. Prejudices, especially racial and religious, ethnic, or gender biases, are strong barriers to developing empathy and compassion. They cause people or groups to consider themselves superior to others, and as a result, feel less compassionate to those outside their group. The relationship between removing prejudices and becoming compassionate to others can be explained in two ways. First, when prejudices are set aside, one realizes that all human beings, regardless of their race and religion and gender, need and deserve respect and love. The view that others should not be discriminated against or ignored because of their differences opens the way for being more thoughtful towards them. Prejudices create artificial boundaries between them and us. And by removing these barriers, we can consider everyone as members of a bigger family and become more sensitive towards their suffering and their pain. Secondly, prejudices cause us only to consider the differences instead of the shared values between us, and this can separate us from others. Prejudice leads to emotional and moral dislike, in which a person finds it difficult to appreciate the feelings and needs of others. And because of this, compassion is significantly reduced, and this may cause hostility towards those considered as other or foreign. Therefore, removing prejudices directly increases compassion because it removes the barriers that prevent us from accepting others. And now a few words about compassion and eliminating poverty. Accepting and recognizing spiritual principles such as kindness, such as compassion, generosity, and benevolent activities effectively reduces poverty at all levels. Being compassionate to others is one of the most important ways to eliminate poverty, and it is related to human relations, social structures, and economic approaches. The view is based on the belief that eradicating poverty requires a sense of solidarity and social responsibility. Through empathy and compassion for the suffering of others, we can effectively become engaged to eliminate them. When we are sensitive to the suffering of others, we look for ways to help improve their living conditions. It makes people want to create a more just system in which resources and opportunities are distributed justly and fairly, and this may help exploitation and inequality be avoided. Now, a two-way relationship exists between eliminating poverty and being compassionate. On the one hand, empathy is among the primary motivations of individuals and societies to fight against poverty. When people are concerned about the pain and suffering of others and feel responsible for their well-being, they will look for ways to eliminate it from their lives. Many movements to fight poverty have been formed based on empathy and compassion, and at the cost of overlooking their own self-interest, and to find solutions to improve the living conditions of others. On the other hand, eliminating poverty can strengthen the spirit of compassion. When people's basic needs are met and poverty is eliminated, people can be more sensitive to each other's problems. A society that is just and where people's basic needs are met has more scope to promote love for each other. There will be a good feelings of the application of compassion by both the poor and the rich. Now, the human behavior of compassionate work is an example of the virtues that required for effective voluntary sharing. This approach is highly effective because it is done freely as a matter of choice, rather than being forced to give or give voluntary services. But it is important to point out that although caring for others brings individual and societies closer to each other because we have a strong sense of social responsibility. However, it alone is not enough to eliminate absolute poverty. And government engagement and participation is necessary. The role of governments and systematic policies in dealing with poverty is a vital matter because governments have tools, they have resources, and they have money that individuals and charitable organizations do not have enough of them. So individual or group altruistic and philanthropic work is usually provided temporarily in the form of short-term assistance, such as charitable donations and resources, and lots of voluntary services. Although these aids and services are essential and important, they alone cannot eradicate absolute poverty. For example, in very poor countries, we can often help a limited number of people for a limited time period. But to eliminate the poverty of millions and millions of people, the government needs to participate with their long-term plans. So the ideal way to tackle poverty is to have a combination of compassionate work in the form of charitable and philanthropic activities, and also the need of government participation. So friends, in summary, being compassionate towards others will lead to better and happier living conditions, both morally and economically. Can you imagine what the world would look like if everyone is compassionate towards everyone? The last slide, friends, is one of the writings of Baha'u'llah, the prophet founder of the Baha'i faith. And in this writing, Baha'u'llah referred to at least about 40 different ways of how to care about others, how to be compassionate, how to love each other. It's a beautiful writings. And I want to request my wife, May, to read this.
Sure.
Thank you, May.
Paolo says, be generous in prosperity and thankful in adversity. Be worthy of the trust of thy neighbor and look upon him with a bright and friendly face. Be a treasure to the poor, an admonisher to the rich, an answerer of the cry of the needy, a preserver of the sanctity of thy pledge. Be fair in thy judgment and guarded in thy speech. Be unjust to no man and show all meekness to all men. Be as a lamp unto them that walk in darkness, a joy to the sorrowful, a sea for the thirsty, a haven for the distressed, an upholder and defender of the victim of oppression. Let integrity and uprightness distinguish all thine acts. Be a home for the stranger, a balm to the suffering, a tower of strength for the fugitive. Be eyes to the blind and a guiding light unto the feet of the erring. Be an ornament to the countenance of truth, a crown to the brow of fidelity, a pillar of the temple of righteousness, a breath of life to the body of mankind, an ensign of the hosts of justice, a luminary above the horizon of virtue, a dew to the soil of the human soul heart, an ark on the ocean of knowledge, a sun in the heaven of bounty, a gem on the diadem of wisdom, a shining light in the firmament of thy generation, a fruit upon the tree of humility.
Thank you very much, May. And yes, back to you, Janet.
What a lovely little ending curtain raiser there. And those pansies are beautiful, Hushman. Can I ask, were they in your own garden? Some of them.
Some of them. This last
Yeah.
one, yes, and some others, yeah.
They're lovely. They're
Yes.
lovely.
Of
I
course,
think, am I right that another name for the pansy is heart's ease? I don't know if anybody is a gardener or knows about plants, but a common name for them is heart's ease. So anyway, that was lovely. Thank you both for tonight's presentations, Hushman and Maureen.